than what maybe you're seeing elsewhere.
Right.
And I think that's really empowering, because all of us are unique, right? We could all say the same thing, but we're all going to still say it a little different, right?
Right.
Because we all have something else behind it. And I think the more that people understand that, the more you cut through the noise of the same.
Yes. Yeah.
Because we're not the same. I mean, like,
No.
we're all like amazing, amazing humans, but you know what I mean? Like, I think it's important.
I 100% agree with you, Rebecca. And like, right, like everybody I think is appointed to different people. And so like your voice, your message, even if we're coaching similar things, it's going to resonate with people completely different than the way I approach something or the way I verbalize something or my energy with that person, right? We're going to attract and repel the people that we're supposed to attract and repel. And that's like why it's so important to do the things that we talked about earlier on day one with like building your life and business and synergy, partnering with God and the Holy Spirit, standing in your divine identity and authority, and then working everything from that place. Okay, we have a couple more minutes for any other takeaways that you guys want to share. And I see Erin's on. Yay, we're so excited for you, Erin.
I'd like to share the brand guide and you going through just those processes for the strategy and the systems was really helpful for me. They're all things that I know I need to work on, but it was nice to see. I think that was very smart to have it all in one document, and that you said you could use it for when you have staff or other people to hire on that. So I just thought that was a really unique thing that I hadn't seen before that I really appreciated.
Awesome. Yeah, that is a great tool to go through with my clients because it helps me know how to build out their platform, their system for them, write their copy. But then, like you said, if they're bringing on teammates or if they're trying to delegate to a VA or somebody getting that extra support, then they have that in one place to easily train that next person. So any other takeaways from the last couple of days? All right. Well, Erin, we are ready for you. If you're ready, we can go ahead and start. So for those of you, I've been talking of Erin, but I just want to read his bio to you guys. Erin Jennings, he is the owner of Scalability and the creator of Watch Missions Live. Erin believes that God created for 6 days and then he automated everything to keep spinning so he could spend the rest of his time in relationship with us. I just love that so much. Now he spends his time teaching kingdom-minded entrepreneurs how to leverage automation in their business and ministry to multiply the business God's given them without denying the ministry God's given them. So without further ado, I may have delivered that last sentence wrong, but
that sounds perfect. It's good enough. It's an imperfect world. I'm an imperfect guy, so it works just fine.
Awesome. Well, take it away, Erin. We are so grateful for you to be on here today to share more about scalability and just share your mission and vision behind that. So without further ado, go for it.
Okay. Well, I can start a little bit about it. I am very hands-on. I like to have people get results immediately and to move forward. And I know from what I know of Brandy, she's the same way. I know she's out to like help people succeed. And so stuff like this challenge, I'm sure has been very serious and put together with a lot of thought. I'm the same way. But if it's okay with you, I'd talk a little bit about it. And then I can teach some stuff on automations that I think are super important for business and ministry, and then open it up if that's all right with you. So I'll tell you a little bit about scalability first. And if you want to ask questions too, Brandy, feel free to kind of guide that for your audience. But in 2011, I was a police officer in Wichita, Kansas, and I had a big house on 10 acres of land. And honestly, I'd always wanted 10 acres of land or more. And I wanted to be close to a highway where I could be in town and still have stuff to do very quickly, but still had my own space. And I grew up racing motorcycles, racing professional motocross, and then hired out doing freestyle shows. And so right across the street from my 10 acres of land was 80 acres of motorcycle playground. And I was on the police department for 5.5 years. So I had my dream house right across the street from 80 acres of motorcycle tracks that I didn't have to maintain. I just got to play with. And I had the retirement and the benefits and all of those things, right? And I literally thought, this is the next 25 years and that's it. I go to work and I make my paycheck and I come home and I spend my days off and my extra money fixing my nice house on 10 acres, and I ride when I can, and then I go back to work. And that's it. I was 5 years into a 30-year career and everything was the stuff that I wanted. I think I was like 25 years old, 26 years old at that time. And I was just like, man, I was made for so much more than this. And so in May 2011, my now wife and I, we sold the house on the 10 acres, got married, quit the police department, and left the country as full-time missionaries in the month of May 2011. So we did all those things in 1 month. We just like dove straight in. Within 2 weeks, we were standing in the slums of Kenya, where we spent 30 days in Kenya, and there was a guy dying in the mud next to a trash igloo. And there was people that didn't have food and clean water, and they were literally living in trash igloos. They just bent sticks to make an igloo, and they'd layer it with trash they found in the streets, and then they bend sticks and put trash, and that's where they lived. And I remember asking, like, what's wrong with this guy? What's going on? And they said, well, he's dying, but none of us have any money, and the government won't help. And I remember standing there thinking, what if I was standing here as a rich missionary instead of a broke one? And that was 12 years ago. And that question has fueled my entire life since then. As we traveled and did missions work, I saw more and more and more that if I was standing in a place with money, I would have done a lot more. Not that we have to have it. God said, go, we will pick up and go, period. Our whole family, my wife doesn't question it. Our kids don't get to stay home. If God says go, the whole family picks up and we go. And so it's non-negotiable in our house. And so we know we were doing what God told us to do, but I was just like, Lord, how do I do more? Not because I have to. Salvation's been given. I don't need it. But when we love someone, you know, like God and everything he's done for us, like, how do we do more for them, right? How do I do more for my children because I love them? How do I help more, do more? And so that question has really fueled me. During that 30 days there at the orphanage that we were staying at, the lady that was running it, she'd been at it almost 30 years. And she would fly back to the United States, raise money, come back to Kenya, and she would buy children from the government. Because when kids are thrown out on the streets, for those of you who don't know, in Kenya, ladies have to sell anything they can to make money to pay for food. They'll sell their bodies for 50 cents. And so there's lots of people getting pregnant that don't want to, and they literally will just have the baby and leave it in the ditch somewhere and walk off. And so when these kids actually survive and make it on the streets, the government will take them off the streets and they put them in what we would see as a basement. 4 concrete walls in the ground with no windows, no doors. That's their rescue, if you will, for kids on the street. They put them in a basement with no windows, no doors. They put 5-gallon buckets in the corner for them to go to the bathroom in, and they don't clean it out every day. And so they'll literally be locked in this concrete hole, and that's how they get homeless kids off the streets. So she was buying them from the government and taking them to her 10-acre farm where they had built a school and dorms, and they had a little garden, and they had a few cows, and they had a church building and some playground equipment. And at that time that we were there, we stayed for 30 days and we watched 2 missionary teams come in and then leave during the time that we were there. And what we learned was she was trying to retire. So she was actively trying to get this one person in particular to take over her orphanage. And this person wasn't interested in it. And I remember just watching and listening to conversations and thinking, what if she can't find somebody to take it over? Almost 30 years of rescuing kids from the streets. And what if nobody can take it over? Because as we sat there and watched, the locals, the kids, and the staff members that were working there they would literally sit down and wait for the next round of missionaries to show up and bring them stuff. They'd put on a show, they'd sing and dance, and they'd hoot and holler and have a good time and make the missionaries feel good. And then the missionaries would give them a bunch of stuff and then, you know, give money and feed into things. And then when the missionaries leave, they'd sit down and wait for the next group. Like, so the locals knew nothing about actually fixing their own situation. And her entire ministry was built on, she flies back to the United States, raises money from people with money, brings it back, and then funds what's happening. So if her plane goes down at any time, what happens? If nobody takes it over, what happens? And that was the start of our missions career. I think a little differently than most people. I challenge myself very much harder than most people to always be growing and getting better. And when God said, go do missions, I looked at it the same way. I was like, Lord, you've given me this. You've called me to this. How do I steward it? And the way that I see stewarding is not traditional. I believe the parable of the talents, the two that were praised were ones that multiplied. And the one that saved was cast out, the wicked and lazy servant. And so I see when God gives us something that we should multiply it, that's how we steward it. We take care of it and we make more out of it to give back to him. And so I look at this missions as you've called us to this. What do we do here? That was 12 years ago. I had no idea about systems, automation. I wasn't doing business online. I came from being a cop where you just show up and definitely a lot different work. You handle the things and then you go back to the stuff and that was it, right? And now here we are in missions, unemployed and homeless, traveling around doing whatever God says. And I looked at this orphanage and I thought, what if they'd take some of the land and they planted a garden and then they just simply had an idea of 50% of it we eat and 50% of it we sell. And when we have chickens, we keep 30% of them for breeding for more chickens, 30% of them produce eggs, and 30% of them we eat. And we sell the eggs, 50% of the eggs, and we eat 50% of the eggs. Now they're producing their own food over and over by simply saying half of it we keep and half of it we sell. It's simple things, and I had no idea what I was doing at the time. But I looked at it, and for the last 12 years, that has grown, that same picture. I can feel myself standing there in the slums. I can smell it. I can picture the people still. And I'm just like, if we could create simple systems, a way of doing things that would multiply whatever God's given us, then that orphanage could keep going, even if somebody didn't take over, even if her plane went down. And since then, it's fueled everything to, it took me 6 years to figure out how to make money online. But from that point, I was like, I don't want to be the broke missionary who's eating ramen myself and barely getting by so that I can just pray with people. I was like, there's people dying in the streets, living in trash igloos, no clean water, no food, and I'm fully capable. I thought, I can figure this out. It took me 6 years before I figured out real estate wholesaling. And I started wholesaling real estate 3 months before we moved to China, where I was going to be a stay-at-home dad. So I have 2 daughters. They're 2 years old and 4 years old when we lived in China. And I had been investing in real estate for 3 months. So while in China, I was taking care of the girls. I was getting my workouts in, and I made $108,000 by flipping houses in the United States as a stay-at-home dad living in China while my wife was teaching English there. And it was time blocking, and it was figuring out a system for the way that I did everything. And then from that point on, I knew how to make money and leverage people and automation and tools and a calendar and a schedule to where I was present with my daughters. And when my wife got off work, I was present with my wife and my daughters. And when my kids went to school, I was present with my wife. And then when I was at work, I was focused and at work, right? Like I got everything done and everything did well in that time. And I thought, man, if people knew how to do this, we could like not just build businesses, but all this cool business knowledge that's out there could be put into missions work. And I thought back of all the missions that we'd done. I was like, man, if I knew how to do this and this, we could have like left that better than what we did. We could have done more over here with that. And so I believe now more than ever, I've spent the last 5 years teaching people one-on-one how to create systems in their business. And I truly believe that it's a biblical model. The Bible tells us to have multiple streams of income. The Bible tells us that we have been given the ability to create wealth. He's not going to give us the wealth. He's given us the ability to create wealth. We must do something. We can't just have faith, because faith without works is dead. We must do something. I believe he's already given us everything we'd ever need. And we just have to figure out how to use it by spending some time with him. And so many of us get stuck in the running around doing busy work, and we miss the time with him. And so I'm very passionate about, if you guys have ever heard yourself say, well, I feel like God's given me this idea for business, then it is now your responsibility to multiply it. How do you multiply everything in your business? Because you have to have meetings with people. You have to send emails. You have to make posts. You have to send invoices. You have to coach or write the book or whatever it is that you're doing. How do you do all of those things and still have any time left? And that's where I believe God placed us in this time with the tools that we have for us to use them. I'm not one that thinks technology is a horrible demon out there. I believe that God gave us the tools, and we can use the tools to advance the kingdom until they kick us off the tools, right? Like, I don't agree with everything Facebook does. I know there's an agenda, but they spend millions of dollars a month addicting people to Facebook. So I'm not going to avoid Facebook. I'm going to show up and I'm going to sneaky Jesus that place until they ban me, which I'm actually banned right now, just so everybody knows. Like, I'm on a 30-day hiatus from Facebook. But I immediately had the systems in place to where I have paid groups in Facebook. And as soon as they banned me and shut me down on Facebook, I just sent text messages and emails out to my members and brought them straight into a community we already had created for them. Nothing missed a beat, other than the fact we've moved from Facebook and they're millions of dollars worth of addicting you to their groups, and we've plugged you into our group, and we continue. So I believe if we leverage the technology of today and we fight this battle, we won't lose as much ground. And so I'm huge on technology and everything else, and that's where scalability came from. Scalability came from this idea of how do we multiply? After almost 5 years of coaching people one-on-one, everybody's wasting time with software and duct taping things together, and do the email over here and the automation over here and the websites over here and my social over here. And it's like, if we could put it all in one place with one username and password, then it would streamline the whole process, which ultimately saves us time, because my time is more valuable making disciples. Because making disciples isn't preaching once. Making disciples is showing up and teaching them how to obey so they can make more disciples. That's what I'm created for. So I'm very, very passionate about not getting stuck in doing crappy business stuff that keeps me from making disciples. And when you get really focused on what you're doing and why, and then getting intentional about, like what Brandy says, bringing it into one place, one platform, one simple process, it allows you the time to do what God created you to do. And now you can multiply the business without denying the ministry and spending time with people. And then I know, Brandy, you talk about partnering the business. Through all of this and the systems, I found myself get sucked into business. And I was like, how do I get the time? Because I created this to provide for the ministry, but now I'm not doing the ministry. I'm not spending time with people. I'm chasing these dollars. I was like, no, I don't want to get sucked into that. And so we learned, if we take these systems and we leverage them through the time and the schedule and the automation, automating things allowed to free the time. And then the structure of a calendar or blocking that time, and then intentionally blocking God time with me and God, with my wife and God, with my kids and God, and with others in God. Blocking it in like it's just as important as my workday, because it's more important. When we started doing that, we start seeing things, right? And then I started questioning, how do I bring God into everything I do? And as you can see right now, we're on a business webinar talking a lot of God stuff, because I can't not talk about it. It's a part of everything that we do now. The entire business is structured around helping kingdom entrepreneurs multiply what God's given them. Software is a tool. We have services. They're tools. That's it. And it's all tools that help you multiply what God's given you, because that's what we do. And then we've partnered and created a nonprofit that is building an app that will be live streaming Christian missions work from around the world. Because technology is in the palm of our hand. Why aren't we using it in missions? We're still sending monthly newsletters once a month. I don't even read my friends' monthly newsletters. I want to get on Zoom and be like, dude, what's up? So we're building that into an app, and the business is funding that, because the business grows, the ministry grows, and I get to tell God stories in my business, and our ministry tells God stories. Everything we do revolves around what God has called us to, and multiplying the time he's given us, multiplying the money he's given us, multiplying the relationships that he's given us, which means going deeper, and then teaching those around us too. So that's as fast as I can make all of the stories, because I could tell stories for weeks, and I absolutely love talking about what God's doing. So do you have any questions for me? Everybody's like, I don't know. I'm different than a lot, because I will literally let people just do it on the fly and ask questions. So did you have something, Brandy?
I was just gonna say, that's why I love Aaron and why I'm so grateful you got to be on this, because this is what our entire 2-day workshop was about, was partnering with God in your faith and business and multiplying, streamlining so that you can operate in your field of favor. So thank you so much for coming on. Do you want to share scalability? Like, I can give you screen share permission. I don't know if you wanted to show your platform off. You have the space to do that right now if you want to.
Okay. Well, we can. I like to run people through like the ideas first, and then I can show you. I can show you some of the tools if you want. But since I was catching up from your 2 days, I wasn't able to listen in on the whole thing. I figured I'd see where we were at. What's some of the businesses you guys are working on? Just for the people that are in here, what's some of the businesses you have, so I can address specifically?
Come off mute.
Yeah. I have a coaching business that I'm starting, plus a network marketing business.
Okay, perfect.
I help kingdom entrepreneurs implement simplified systems in their business.
Nice. Okay.
Health and fitness according to their identity in Christ.
Okay. So like coaching and programs?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I am opening up an autism center.
Nice. Okay.
I
just
am.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Oh, I am a Christian balance coach. I help people do work-life balance God's way.
Okay. Good.
I just wrote in the chat coaching. I just started in coaching, and right now in human design and energy. And I do have affiliations that help support entrepreneurs in the online space with their business. I'm a founder of a business app, so it's really cool hearing about your app, and as well as actually helping not in the online space, a brick and mortar with businesses that have been able to sustain through COVID, and helping them, small, medium-sized businesses specifically, nonprofits, even churches and everything. Yeah.
Gotcha. Good. So there's always lots of coaching. And if you guys are typically on webinars, there's always lots of coaching courses or programs delivering content, right? And then of course, calendars, like booking with people. So the Autism Center, people are going to come to a website, right? And they're going to learn about it. And then you probably want them to schedule a time to come in and actually book an appointment. We literally just built something like this. With the coaching and things, you're delivering most of the time a digital content and some form of interactive community and a coaching program with weekly calls. With all the businesses, it doesn't matter what it is, there's always going to be certain elements that will be across the board you must have in order to grow. And I call it fast scalability. The company is Scalability. That's the software. Fast scalability is just an acronym, but it stands for foundation, automation, systems, and traffic. A lot of us, when we start a business, we're looking at people that have already done it. We think it's amazing. They're 10 years ahead of us, and we think we can do what they're doing. And so we jump straight to traffic. We skip the foundation. We don't know about automation. We don't even realize we need systems because we're brand new to this thing. But ultimately, if you get your foundation in place, then you have a set way of doing things that is the same all the time, systems, and automation to support it, then you're ready for as much traffic as you want. And so I know what Brandy's talking about is bringing it all together into one place. That's primarily what scalability does. So your foundational points, you're going to have your websites or landing pages. You're going to have forms and surveys where people can opt in and you can capture their information. Those are your foundational elements of any business and any ministry. Even if you're running a nonprofit and you're growing an orphanage or any other kind of business out there, it doesn't really matter. You are going to need to be running people somewhere. And you need to be able to capture their information, or you have no systems and automation. You can't follow up and you can't do anything else. And most of us are like telling people what we're doing, but we're not really capturing anything clearly. So your foundational elements, your website, your surveys, your forms, those are one thing, but then getting them in place in the right order and with an intentional purpose. Okay, so I always say, what is the one thing that you do that you can clearly tell people, and what's the one action that you want them to take? That's what you look at for every single piece of anything that you're working on. If it's a ministry, if it's a business, it doesn't matter if it's coaching, if it's a brick and mortar, whatever it is. Because if you're brick and mortar, you're probably going to set up Google My Business with a website, with your address and your phone number and everything else, and reviews because you want people to find you. The biggest mistake people make when they create their website is telling everybody every single thing they do. And this will keep you from growing. It will keep your ministry from growing as well. If I come in here and I say, I've got a ministry and it's basically missions work. We do disaster relief. We build houses. We rescue kids. We do ministry in the homeless in our area. We help with our church. We fundraise to do this. And then we do this and we put on camps for kids. People are like, wow, that's great. I have no idea how to help you. That just sounds amazing. You didn't resonate to them to where they go, that's amazing, I must help, right? All of the things are good, but the problem is you spoke to too many things, and so they were just overwhelmed and they didn't do anything. The biggest problem we have with websites is people like to put all of their credentials and all of their products and everything else all on one page. So if I say, I help kingdom-minded entrepreneurs multiply the business God's given them without denying the ministry God's given them. Click here to grab your free trial of scalability. Is it clear who I'm helping, what I do, and what I want you to do? Right? It's kingdom-minded entrepreneurs. So if that's you at all, you're going to be like, that's me. And here's the beauty. If it's not you, you're like, they'll be like, oh, those stinking Christians, and they'll leave. That's okay. We want to polarize the room and we want them gone, right? Like, I want these people, not these people. And there's nothing wrong with that, because if God gave this to you, especially for those of you who say, I'm a coach, that means God gave you a voice and he wants you to talk to people. And if you never get any people to talk to you, you're not doing with what God's given you, right? So we have to break it down and we have to say, okay, this is what I'm supposed to actually talk about and who I'm talking to. Now I need to capture that person, because in the Christian space, a lot of times selling is dirty. Well, if you believe God gave you this business idea and it's a business idea, that means selling is a part of it. So simply, how do we sell in a way that's not selling? I help kingdom-minded entrepreneurs multiply the business God's given them without denying the ministry God's given them. Have I sold you on anything? No. I simply said who I help and what I do. Start your 14-day free trial. Have I sold you on anything? I simply told you what's available. But if you're a kingdom-minded entrepreneur who feels like God's given you a business and you're tired of chasing business and not spending time with God, I have spoken to you, and you will click that button and you'll give it a try, or you'll reach out to me or something, because you'll be like, okay, he's got something I need, right? If God told you to coach, you have to learn how to put it in front of people to where they go, she has something I need. And then give them one thing to do. Click here for a 15-minute discovery call where I'll teach you how to this. No sales pitch. I'm just going to teach you how to do this on our call. You don't have to sell when you just solve something for people. When you show up and you go, I'll do this for you for free, click here. And people jump on the call and you do that for them, they immediately go, man, I need so much more of this. I'm so glad I found you. What do you sell, or how do I work with you? I've had so many people go, how do I work with you? It's like, you don't have to sell when they're asking you, which is also a good way to do missions work and ministry. If you can make people ask a question, they'll stay all day for the answer. But if you show up and you try to tell them about Jesus, they're instantly shut off. So do the same in your sales, in your business. Make people ask questions. Oh, whoa, that sounds like something I could use. I'm curious. And if you're like, yeah, well, that's what we do. Not, yeah, well, if you're interested, let's get you on a thing and I'll do this for you, and like try to sell them right away. Like, tell people what you do. And when you get clear on it, I help this person with this thing. And here's the one thing that you need to do if you're that person. And that's what you put on your forms and your webpage. And so your autism business, book an appointment. That's it. Don't do contact us with your cell phone and your business address. It's literally like book an appointment or leave. There's nothing wrong with that. The people that need the service, they're looking for it. And they need to book an appointment. That's how you're going to help them and solve their problem, right? And if they don't, because they follow your Instagram social media link to Instagram, and they look at yours for 5 seconds, and then someone else catches their attention, and now they're gone, and you didn't capture any information. Now you can't help them with what God's given you and told you to help people with. So we're not stewarding and multiplying what God's given us if we confuse people and give them avenues to leave to where they can't get our help. It's a different way of looking at it, right? But if we believe God's given it to you, that means God wants people to have it, and he's entrusted you to give it to people. So we don't have to sell, but we need to make it to where people can find it and they know exactly what to do. Okay, like that's huge. You look at the way Brandy promoted stuff for this challenge. What was it? Here's what I'm doing. Here's when it is. Here's what we're looking for. Shoot me a message or get on a call with me to talk to you to see if it's good for you or not. There was one thing for you to do, and here you are. And here some people aren't, right? And that's perfectly fine. It gets the right people in the right space, because when Jesus was walking the earth, he walked by a lot of people to heal the ones that God was leading him to. Remember the pool where the handicapped guy was sitting around? Everybody would wait to rush into the pool when the water bubbled. He went in and he healed one and he left. He didn't heal everybody there. God has given us things to do. We have to listen to what God's telling us to do and go after those people that he has told us to do this for. Like, it's very important that we understand these biblical concepts behind what it is that we're doing. Because if not, we get sucked in the shiny object of the rest of the world. But we have a better reason to be focused than the rest of the world, right? Like, we have to be focused because God actually gave us something and entrusted us to help other people with it. It's more important than the rest of the world. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna make some money. I'm just gonna change my family's future. Like, that's great. We're gonna change the world. But we have to be focused on it. So who are you helping, right? Even as a coach, as a physical business, as a speaker, it's pride and ego for a lot of people. I'm not going to call any of you out. Pride and ego for a lot of us, I'll even say us, when we create a page that talks about everything we do. If I'm selling this thing and I have to say, I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I'm a coach, I'm certified in this, I'm certified in this, and here's the 24 amazing things I've done. It's like some of it's good social proof, some of it's confusion and us feeling like we need to say it. Right? I help kingdom-minded entrepreneurs multiply the business God's given them without denying the ministry God's given them. Get your 14-day free trial. It doesn't matter what my certifications are or who we've worked with and who we haven't. That should speak to you and what you need help with the one clear and easy thing to do or not. Right? So I know I'm like beating this, but this is where it all starts. And if you can't get this part down, the foundation, how do you build a web page? You'll build one with all the buttons and all the social media links. People that come looking for your book, they don't need your Facebook link. They don't need to see your Instagram. They need a buy button for the book. Okay, and then they need an upsell to buy your course or your coaching program. That's what they came for. Give them what they came for. Right? You're not misleading them. You're not selling them. If they come to your webpage because they saw something that you wrote a book, they're looking for the book. Just sell it to them or give it to them or whatever you're doing on that page, right? So get really focused. Who am I helping? What is it that I sell to them? And then what's the one action I want them to take? Okay. And this is what gets your foundation in place. Now you start to build your website or your surveys and your forms off of that. So at that point, you're going, okay, well, I help kingdom-minded entrepreneurs multiply their business without denying their ministry. I want them to do the 14-day free trial. So now I build a website talking about the software and what it does and how it helps that person do that one thing. And I put a button to start your 14-day free trial. Foundation is now in place, right? When somebody clicks that button, then what happens? This is the exercise I want to give you for every one of your businesses right now. This is, I literally simplified it. It's the then what exercise. It's like just a silly, stupid name. But then what is what you're going to ask yourself for everything. So when you have your person and you know, I help this person do this thing and I want them to start a 14-day free trial, say, then what? When they click the button on that website, it says start 14-day free trial, then what? Well, I need to get their credit card to set up a actual account to the software, right? So when they click the button, it brings up a payment form. Then what? When somebody fills out the payment form and says, yeah, let's go, then what? At that point, let's see, it'll automatically create the software platform for them. I need to send them a username and password. Okay, so we build that into an automation to send you a username and password. Then what? Well, I want them to have success with it. I don't want them to just have software. So I need training videos. Okay, well, when you get training videos, then what? How do you get them to people? You see what I mean? I'm going, then what, just after each step. Write it down on a piece of paper. Keep it super simple. A note on your phone, a Word document, doesn't matter. Just write down the thing you want people to do. Then what? Then what? Then what? Your ministry. You're fundraising for a thing. You're like, hey, we're trying to do this thing. We're looking for this type of person to give donations here. Click the one button. When they click the button, then what? Oh, I need to take their donation. Awesome. How do we do that? Put this here. Okay, now we got a payment link. Then what? I want them to know that they're loved and that we're thankful and grateful. And then I want them to get connected so they can follow up. Okay, so we're going to send them an email and a text that says thank you. Then what? Well, let's wait a couple days and then I want to follow up with them and let them know what we're doing, or we want to get them on our monthly email newsletter. Like, okay, so when they buy, it adds them to an email list that triggers the email to go out once a week or once a month. Okay, then what? Right? You can use it in every single thing that you're doing. When I get a new client, let's say for you coaches do a lot of, I wrote a book, and then they get the book, and then you upsell to the coaching program, right? Or they book you to speak. So you literally run people to, hey, get my free book, and that's all you talk about. When somebody gets the free book, they click name, email, get the book. Then what? I want it to automatically deliver the e-version, and I want it to send me an email and a text so I can mail them the physical version. Okay, done. Then what? Well, then I want to try and sell them my coaching program or have them book me to speak at their event. So I'll create another landing page that's like, hey, thanks for getting my book. Now that you got my book, if you didn't know, we do speaking engagements. If you're interested in having me come speak at your event, click here to schedule some time on my calendar. Let's talk. Well, then what? When they click here, well, it's schedule some time, so I need a calendar. What happens when they book on the calendar? Then what? You get it? It's simple, but it's like, but literally, this is where people have a breakdown because they go, where do I start with building systems and automation? This is it. Get your foundation in place. Do your then what exercise from start to finish. Then you will literally have all of the steps. And now you go one piece of the then what exercise and you go, how do I build this part? Well, if I'm going to run traffic to a landing page to sign up for my free challenge, then I need the landing page. How do I build a landing page? Figure that part out, build the landing page. What happens when they opt in? I want them to get an email and a text. Okay, how do I send an auto email and text? Figure that part out. Then what? Well, then I want them to show up and I want them to get reminders on the way. Okay, how do we do that part? When you get your then what's, you can go back and you can build each of the pieces. And this is how we build the automation and the systems inside of the FAST method. It's your foundation is your forms, your surveys, your templates. So you have a place to send the right person, a clear call to action, and you can capture their information to start triggering the automation and systems. Then you build the automation and systems to where it sends the reminders, delivers the product, takes the payment, does all of those things. And now you're ready to send your traffic. And it can be paid, it can be organic, it doesn't really matter how it comes. But at that point, you're free to dial up your traffic to whatever level you want. What I want you to hear in all of this, because you're going to start, it's exciting when you come out of something like this. You're going to start. I'm so hyped up. This is awesome. Everything was great. I learned so much. And you're going to get started. You're going to realize there's work involved. You got the then what exercise, but now you got to figure out how to build the stinking website. And now I got to learn how to write my copy. I don't understand that part. I don't even know what an upsell page means. And he's talking about automation. And now we go, oh man, this is where I want you to pause and remember something. God gave you this. That's pretty much it. That means you can't just stop. It was given to you because he trusts you with it. He wants you to multiply it. You've been given the ability to. And now you've been given it, which means he has entrusted you with it. So how do you multiply it? Right? Remember that, and then learn the thing you need to learn, build the thing you need to build, or pay the people to do it, whatever it looks like for you, wherever you're at. But remember that the reason is because in the back of your mind, you can say, did God give this to me or not? If he didn't, you're just doing it for fun, then feel free to quit whenever you want. You're not going to have success with it, but feel free to quit whenever you want. But if God gave it to you, I'm going to challenge you to never quit until he tells you to let it go, which if he gave it to you, might be a while because he's a very patient guy. But how do we take that, remember God gave it to you, and then plug that into the stuff that you're building? Okay, like this is the most important part of anything. You've got your foundation, you've got your then what exercise, and at that point, the fun starts to wear off when you learn, I got to learn how to use a new piece of software, or I got to learn to use a new thing over here, or I got to find the right person that can do this for me. And I get it that all of that is daunting, and I get it that all of it can be frustrating, and I get it because I've done it too. I've got 12 years into my journey. Okay, so I completely understand. I've had to learn the software. There's lots of kinks and things that come from launching a software company. Cell phone carriers decided they were going to change the laws, and now all of a sudden that was my problem for every subscriber in the software, because they all have to change their do certain things with their phone numbers or else they don't work anymore. You think they're mad at the cell phone carriers? No, that's our fault. We had nothing to do with it, but now we're along for that ride. But you know what? God gave this to me, so that's a ride I'm willing to ride. So we make a video. I spent 2.5 days of my own time learning what these changes were so that we could create a document and a video teaching people what they needed to do so that they wouldn't get frustrated with it, because God gave this to me and I will steward it well. And that's a part of it. So understand, if God gave it to you, you need to commit to the learning or the paying the other people to do it, or whatever that looks like for you, wherever you're at, so that you can move forward. Once you get that through your head and you understand, like, this is a God-given thing, and it's not just something cute you tell your friends, but you actually believe it, because that's real. That's real. There's a lot of not fun to running a business, but that's real. There's also a lot of not fun to running a ministry. Also real. And there's nothing wrong with talking about it, working through it, and going, God gave it to me, so I'll take the unfun and I'll do it. So I can soapbox on that for a while. I'll try not to. Okay, let me open up a scalability. If anybody has a question or a comment, I don't know what the rules are for you, Brandy, but I'm always like, unmute and just say it out loud while I open this up. But that's up to you guys. If not, I'll open up scalability and I'll kind of show you around a little bit. Does anybody have anything they want to comment or say before we move forward? Quiet crowd. Okay, I'm all right with that. Let me get a demo account open here so we can poke around and look at some things. And then I'll show you guys what it would look like in real time. Okay, it says I can't screen share, Brandy, while somebody else is doing.
Okay.
It says while somebody else.
Oh, let me
Is that
stop.
because I'm on presenter view or spotlighted maybe?
I think, I don't know. I was sharing still. So you should be good now.
That's real too, just so you guys know, like family and things. That's why we do this. Never be ashamed of it, ever. I've had my kids walk in while I was doing a Zoom presentation like this. My daughters come in and I'm like, come here. I like introduce her, because God's given you something. It's a part of your life. Generationally, right? We're passing things down. We're teaching our kids so that they can come up and they don't see work as a horrible thing. Like, my kids see work as, well, here's another way of forming it. My kids have never seen daddy leave for work and be gone all day. They've never seen it. They're 7 years old and 9 years old now. They've never seen me leave. And I remember we were at a Bible study one morning, and it was like an early morning thing, and the girls were with us, and my daughter comes up and she goes, why are all the daddies leaving? And I hadn't noticed it, but I looked around, I was like, oh yeah, like 3 or 4 guys have already left. And I was like, why are they leaving? I was like, oh, sorry, baby, they have to go to work. They have jobs where they have to go somewhere and be there at a certain time and be gone all day. Like, my girls didn't even understand that, like, daddy gets up and leaves for work, because our life has been intentionally built to where if God says go, we can go. And they don't know anything else other than that. So, like, bring your kids on what you're working with. Their technological advanced minds will actually help you with stuff you can't figure out. It's real. So when we go into scalability is like bringing one-on-one coaching into a software platform, to where you can automate and systematize things and get that time back, but also that creating your then what exercise and taking those elements and saying, now what? If I've got a web page I need to send people to, and then I need forms and surveys, you used to have to get a website builder like Wix or Squarespace or ClickFunnels or something different just to do the website. Then you'd have to get like JotForm to do a form. And then you'd have to get Calendly so that you could have a calendar to book people on. and you'd have to bring all those links together on your pages to actually build them out. So inside of scalability, if we log in, this is a dashboard of a demo account we put together. If we click on sites over here in this left sidebar, we see here we've got funnels and websites across the top. Funnels, websites, blogs, a client portal, forms, surveys, chat widgets. All of these things are stuff you can just click on and create right here in scalability. So Jot forms are replaced by surveys and forms right inside of here. And if I need a website or a funnel, I'm just clicking right here, websites or funnels. I'm sure a lot of you have blogs. You can build your blogs inside of here. And with our builders, everything is drag and drop. So we have thousands of templates for actually websites to where you can pick out pre-done designs. And I'll show you that here. The first piece of most people's foundation is going to be a landing page or a website. So if we come into sites on the left, funnels at the top, and click new funnel, here we can click from templates. And when I open this up, we're going to have a bunch of categories right here with pre-done designs already built in. And as you scroll down, you can see all these different designs. You can hover over them and click on the eyeball and preview it. And it'll actually let you scroll through it and see what this site already looks like. So it'll have all the text here and the text here and the pictures in the back and like the layout already done. You can go back and search over here on the left, or I'm sorry, up here at the top, you can search fitness. And it will bring up ones that are already laid out with fitness pictures and designs and layouts that we know are formulated to work in the fitness industry. And so you can literally just hover over, grab one you like, preview it, scroll through. If it loads quick, you can scroll through just like the one we were just looking at, and you can see what it looks like. And then you simply click that you want to continue, and it'll automatically load that into your scalability account, and it'll be laid out just like this. Now, if I take and hit continue, it'll add it. You'll watch right here how fast it goes. And then I'll show you how you make your changes and everything to it. Everything's drag and drop. It immediately opens it up, and now we can see that layout, and we hover over it, any element we want, and we can just say, we can just delete that and type in here whatever we want. So it's drag and drop real quick, and you can edit the pieces. If I want to change this photo, I just click on the photo, and over here on the right side, scroll down to where it says photo, upload, and I can upload anything I want from my computer and change out that image. Click save in the top, and we've got a website. So like naturally there's a lot that it can do, but with the templates, you can have websites in place really fast. And the websites are already laid out with things that we know are work in those different categories. The same if we say, when they click on the button, then what exercise, right? When they click the button on my website, I want it to apply to work with me. So I need to create a form or a survey that will walk them through and ask them questions before they book a call. If I click forms right up here at the top, click on builder, I can add a new form. Also, there's templates. And here, there's forms that are already created. So you can come through and you can lay them out. And you can say, I like this design. You can preview it, see what it looks like. Click continue. It'll automatically create it. It happens pretty quick. Plugs it into your account, and then the same thing. You open it up, and you can just click on the elements you want. I can click here and change the picture. I can click on this, and I can edit the information right here on the right. I want it required. I want to add information. I can just drag these around and reformat them. So it makes it really easy to make changes and put the pieces in place, right? Because when I got into it, I was sold the idea of like, oh, it's really easy. You just put a funnel in place. I'm like, that's great. And then I found out there was a whole lot of pieces to the funnel that were really hard to figure out. So when we talk about the foundation, and then automation, systems, and then traffic, scalability will let you create your websites with pre-done templates, forms and surveys with pre-done templates. And then over here on the left, if we click automation, so let's say we've got our website in place, and we've got a button for a coach to schedule some time with me. We would create a calendar, and then we come to automation. Well, let me create a calendar first. We click on calendars on the left, calendar at the top, and here we simply new calendar, and there's different styles. So collective booking, where you can book multiple people into one class. So I'm going to host a class on this day and 10 people could sign up. Class booking, kind of along the same lines. Round robin, if you had a team of salespeople. So in other words, if you're selling something and we want to multiply what God's given us, we'll probably have other team members taking calls and selling for us eventually. So we can book round robin and it'll automatically assign it to me. And then the next person, it'll assign it to this person. The next person will assign it to this person. Or a simple calendar where it's just like Calendly, book it. We create a test. This will have a lot of the same features, set your availability and everything of like a Calendly calendar would. So it's easy to figure out for most people. But then when we preview it, it's got this nice big format that lays out where people can select a time and a date. They click continue, and now it'll grab their first name, last name, phone, email. This is the standard information that'll be pulled just from creating a calendar like that. But then once you have it, you can just open it up, edit it, and here you can add your logo to it. You can change your availability just by clicking and changing the times and everything here. It's very easy to just drag and drop and click on things. Now, once we have a calendar in place, we want automation, right? So when somebody books an appointment with us, it should send them a confirmation like, hey, you're booked, and then send them reminders to come up to the meeting. I actually build automated reminders into my automations to where when somebody books on my calendar, they get a confirmation and reminders. I also get a reminder from my own system, because we need to clear the headspace to where we're not focused on what we're missing at work, so we can focus on people in our lives, right? You book on my calendar, it could be for tomorrow or 6 days or 2 weeks from now, and it's going to send out reminders to them going, hey, we're live tomorrow. Hey, we're live in an hour. Hey, I'm going to be calling you in 5 minutes. And then it'll shoot me a text. Hey, Aaron, don't forget to call so-and-so in 5 minutes. And I'll be like, oh, okay. And I'll jump on and call them. That allows me to focus on doing what God's called me to the rest of the time and not wonder what I'm missing, right? So if we jump over to automation, there's a bunch of pre-built automations in here. If I create workflow in the top right, these are all pre-done. So if I say appointment confirmation and reminders and click select, it's going to automatically build this workflow to where at the top, when somebody books an appointment on that calendar, it'll send them an email. It'll wait till 24 hours before. It'll send them another email. Wait till an hour before. It'll send them an email, send them a text. Wait till 5 minutes. It'll send them an email, send them a text. And any one of these things, I can click on it. It'll open it up right here on the right side, and I can change whatever I want right here to where it has my own name and my own verbiage and whatever I want in that email that will go out 5 minutes before. Super easy to use. And you saw me just create that like that. Now, naturally, I would have to add some details to the calendar and to the form and to the automation. But you saw real quickly, you can pull up a template for the website and just change out the text and have a website in place. You can put a link to a form, and then at the end of the form, as soon as the form's submitted, it pulls up the calendar. And when they book on the calendar, the automation sends them the reminders to show up where you have a discovery call, and you sell them your coaching program. You sell them on why they should hire you at their speaking thing. Like, this is the way business is supposed to run. Anybody who comes into your scalability platform, it automatically creates a contact profile for them. And inside every person's profile, automatically, it'll have their information on the left with everything they submitted. And then in the middle, you can send them texts and emails all from this one place. And you'll see here, it shows that this email went out and this text message tried to go out, but was unsuccessful. And then on the right, that's because this is a demo account. There's nothing actually set up. Here on the right side, it says what pages they visited, what form they submitted. And then here I can click on notes and I can add a note. and I can type whatever I want on when I talk to this person, and it will timestamp it with the date and time and the user. So if you have multiple team members, because remember, we're growing this thing. You may be a solopreneur right now, but you might have 20 team members in the future, 20 missionaries in the future. All of them can have their own username and password, log in and work contacts and update details in your system, and you'll always be able to tell who did what at what date and time and read their notes. You can assign tasks to each other just as easily by saying, you know, follow up, do these things, assign it to someone, and set the date and time for them to follow up with them. And when you hit save, it's going to automatically trigger it and put it in there. So this is, I know I'm giving you a super fast run through, but I didn't really clarify how much time I had. I just obviously took an hour. So Brandy, if this was 30 minutes, I apologize.
You're fine. Thank you so much, Aaron, for coming on today and just sharing that. I loved, I mean, obviously you fit perfectly into our workshop. Like, didn't he just wrap us up perfectly with his training, just piggyback perfectly? I was like, I've got you teed up, Aaron. Like, I know what you're going to talk about. It's going to be awesome. So, and yeah, it was so good just to get a little sneak peek inside of scalability. I dropped my link for anybody who wants to check out scalability. Like you said, you can do just the 14-day free trial. And obviously, if you need help building it out, I am a resource for you as well. But yeah, thank you so much, Aaron, for your time. We are pretty much done with the workshop, other than I'm going to do the raffle drawing for the free business audit. So I was going to have Elijah do it and be cute, but he's over there doing something. So I got your names in the hats. And hold on, wait, I'm not supposed to look at the names, I guess. All right, we got Don R. You get the free business audit. So I'll get with you to set up that time. Awesome. All right, you guys, any other questions or takeaways that you want to share before we wrap up this event? Now,
Just
Thank you so
thank
much,
you,
Aaron.
Aaron, for being here. Yeah.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure. I feel like
And
God's
thank
giving
you.
me something, so I'm going to take it just as hard as I'm telling you guys to.
And thank you, Brandy, for doing this. This has been a huge eye opener for me.
awesome. You're welcome. All right, ladies. Well, happy Friday. Have a great weekend and be safe with whatever you're doing this weekend. And thank you again, Aaron, so much for your time and just pouring out your heart to us today. I just really appreciate you so much. So thank you so much, ladies. That is the end of our 2-day workshop. Thanks for hanging out with me for like 6 hours. It's been awesome. All right, have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys later.
See you guys.